following video is sponsored by Cygames. Try the game for free on Android, iOS or Steam. Download links are available in the video description.
Hey guys, how are you doing? Welcome to another Shadowverse video on my channel. Over the last couple of weeks, since the latest expansion Wonderland Dream was released, I've seen a lot of requests from you to address Spawn of the Abyss, one of the strongest legendaries in the expansion, in a video. So today we will check out the card a bit further and we will see if and how to counter the card properly with each specific class. Spawn of the Abyss is a new legendary card for the Bloodcraft class and one of the reasons why the win rate has skyrocketed for it in the last couple of weeks. For 8 play points you're getting a 6 attack and 7 defense ambush unit on the board that will deal an additional 6 damage when you attack with the card and ambush is still active for you, or if the card is dying and ambush is still active. This amount of damage is increasing even further if you're going to evolve the unit one turn later and hitting for a total of 16 damage into the face. That is a lot of power, and combined with the storm unit on turn 7 enough to clear your opponent totally, so you're forced to handle the unit before it is blowing your face away. The problem why the spawn is so hard to handle is his ambush ability, which denies any sort of attack or target removal. As long as your opponent is not actively using the card, your reaction options are limited to non-target removal or mass destruction cards. Also, just leaving a single ward on the board is not cutting it either, because then your opponent will just kill the ward with the effect of Emeralda on turn 7 anyway. Not every class is prepared to fight such a strong combination of effects equally, but nonetheless there are still some decent tools available for most of them. Keep in mind that this video is not about how to combat the early game, but how to counter the Abyss. The early game is another topic to discuss for sure, but that would blow up this video way too much. Let's start with the Recraft class. Recraft is in the fortunate position to have not only one, but 2 great cards that are working perfectly against the spawn. First of all, for 5 play points you are looking at the Winter's Caprice, while at 6 play points you are able to drop the Mutagenic Bolt. Both are not only playable at the right time, but also reducing the power level on the board immense. Both cards are transforming followers into a different unit, so you're not getting rid of the huge attack points on the spawn, but at the same time you're also not getting damaged by the last word's effects. While the Winter's Caprice is transforming also your own unit on the board into small snowmans, the Mutagenic Bolt on the other hand is doing the transformation only on your opponent's side. The new reds on the board are furthermore good for more damage in the face, so you're looking at a potential kill turn later as well. Most of the Runecraft decks nowadays running at least one of the 2 options, some greedy versions even both. Especially the Earthride Runecraft deck type is capable of keeping up with the speed of Bloodcraft, has the tools to handle the Abyssian and a very decent overall damage output as well. The next class is then Forestcraft, that also has some overall great tools for the spawn, but these are not as clean as the Runecraft options. First of all, let's check out one card from the standard card pack called Pixie Mischief. You might not have seen the card too often in the past, but it will now possess decent enough splash potential to play against the spawn. The Pixie is costing you 2 and you will not only return an allied follower amulet to your hand, but also a random enemy follower to the opponent's hand again. While that is obviously not killing the spawn, it will on the other hand slow down your opponent to give you the chance to kill him with a few fast Rhino burst pushes in the face. That is a cool idea and might catch up in the future if the spawn is staying dominant for a longer period of time. The other spell is the Will of the Forest, an already widely used destruction card that will deal 1 damage to a random enemy X times, and X equals the number of cards in your hand. In most game situations you can expect to see only the spawn or maybe 1 additional unit on the board. Due to the high amount of cards Forestcraft is normally holding in their hand, you should find enough damage to kill the spawn through the card. Bear in mind that you are still getting the 6 damage from the last words effect, so still better than eating 16 damage and dying, I would say. On to the next class, and that one is Heavencraft, a class that also has 3 tools at hand, but furthermore also a bunch of healing opportunities that should help you a lot to stay in the game. Heavencraft is already using the tools that they have in form of the Tribunal of Good and Evil and the Thermos Decree in every deck, so there is normally no additional extra card needed to survive the matchup. For Heaven, it is more dangerous to survive the strong early game of the Bloodcraft decks than running into the Abyss that can handle quite well later with their spells and amulets. You definitely have to fight early, otherwise it is not helping you too much that you're capable of fighting a spawn when you're already dead to some Alice shenanigans before turn 6. Nonetheless, the class is in a very good spot, which is also the reason why the class is kinda high in most rankings right now. Additionally, Wonderland Dreams also brought us a new gold card, Nereza the Red Branch Knight, which is with 2 play points super cheap and reduces the max amount of damage you can take at a time to 3. That is super helpful if your opponent is trying to start his 1-turn kill combination and will save you for at least 1 turn. That brings us to the next class, Shadowcraft. Shadowcraft was the solely reigning king of Temples of the Gods, but with the release of Wonderland Dreams, the power level has been shifted in favor of other classes. Nonetheless, we are still looking at a very solid class with an overall good performance, but not as dominant as it used to be. For the task to clear the Abyss, Shadowcraft has an excellent counter argument available, but one that is unfortunately only working if you are going first. The Underworld Watchman Kavi is a must-have card in any Last Word deck, and he functions both as a destruction as well as a healing opportunity. If you're going first, you will be at 7 play points before your opponent is able to crush you, so a perfect time to drop some Watchmen on the board, clear the spawn while also just healing back the amount of damage the spawn was dealing to you. That is the perfect answer, but again, only if you're going first. When going second, you can sadly not use him if your opponent dropped the Abyss already on turn 6, so you need some other options in that case. One alternative that you have is the good old Lurking Corpse in combination with some sort of sacrifice effect. You are still getting the damage from the Last Word effect, but otherwise denying the higher damage output, which should save you before you can play the Kavi then 1 turn later. Next up we have the Swordcraft class, and now things will get a bit more complicated, because Swordcraft as a class has no really great counter for the spawn available. That is forcing the class to play a high tempo play and outrun the Bloodcraft deck, keeping the pressure up from the start of the game and push a lot of damage into your opponent's face. If you're trying to play a slower Swordcraft commander build, your tool against the spawn might be Roland the Incorruptible, who is spawning the Durantula Amulet that is reducing any damage to a maximum of 4 at a time. The problem here is again that the card is too slow if you are not going first, and your opponent can use Esmeralda on turn 7 to kill the amulet instantly as well. You still don't have a ward on the board with Roland, but nonetheless most of the value is already getting crushed. In the case that you're going second, you are forced to play Gawain of the Round Table a bit earlier in the game. That will allow you to reduce the cost of Roland to 6, and there the card is coming right in time to set up the defensive. Similar to Swordcraft, the same problems occur to Dragoncraft, which nowadays has one of the lowest win rates against Bloodcraft of all classes. You will not find any good counterplay against the spawn until you have ramped up a lot, so if your start is too slow, then you are totally doomed. Your best bet would be to find all the ramp that you can find, play it as early as possible, and then drop stuff like the Bahamut as early as possible as well. That is of course a long shot, and most of the time you are forced to have 2 wards on the board on turn 7, otherwise you are out early without too much resistance. That is not a good position to be in, to be honest, so don't expect too good of results for this class. It's still doing quite fine against most other classes in the game right now. That leaves us with Bloodcraft, but here the situation is quite simple. Be faster than your opponent and get the spawn out first. GG man, easy as it gets. Sounds a bit harsh, but the truth is that the win rate difference between going first and second is 20%. Now that should be it then for the overview of counter possibilities for the card Spawn of the Abyss. If you have some other ideas, please share them in the comment section, and I hope the video was helpful for you as well. If you like, you can subscribe to my channel for free and also use the like button to show your support. Whatever you're doing, anything is appreciated, and I thank you for watching until the end. See you then in the next Shadowverse video, and have a good night. Bye bye.